Kia ora koutou katoa. Thank you very much, Tiaria, for the very kind introduction, and to Margo and Willie and the management team for inviting me to address you today on this fine occasion. It's great to be back in Tokoroa, seeing all you talented young people. It's just a great feeling at the school. It really feels like things are going well. So being asked to speak, it really got me reflecting on things. It seemed like a good time to look back, and it actually made me realise it's 18 years exactly since I was sitting where you guys are. It seems like a long time ago, but it's also exactly the halfway. Leaving Tokoroa High School was exactly the halfway point of my life so far. So it seems like there's a nice symmetry there, and it's a good time to both look back into what's happened in the last 18 years since I left Tokoroa, and also to look forward. So it got me thinking about what thoughts I wanted to share with you, but I guess to do that I need to talk a little bit about where I've gone in the last 18 years and what I've done. So I left Tokoroa High School going to Dunedin, as some of the students are today. It's good to see we're poaching some students from here. I left going to Dunedin planning to do medicine and become a doctor. So going to university in Dunedin taught me a few things. Dunedin is not as pleasant a place to play cricket as Tokoroa. It's not that much fun standing fielding in a southerly gale. But for me, university was a fresh challenge. It was a great time to challenge myself, meet new people, be exposed to new ideas. But it also taught me that I really like learning about biology on a smaller scale than medicine. Medicine is really looking at how bodies and people work on a large scale, but I became fascinated with how cells work, so how cells work on a tiny scale. And I changed course. I pulled out of studying medicine and decided to study biochemistry. So what I do is I study the 3D shape of proteins. So we try and work out how these tiny molecules bind to each other and make these three-dimensional models. You might be able to think of it kind of like we try and work out how 3D Lego bricks fit together, except our Lego bricks are so small you can't see them and we can never touch them. So it kind of stinks when I put it like that. But we get to shoot them with X-ray laser beams as well, so it's quite fun as well. So since finishing my degree, I've spent time at Otago University and in California doing research. So, and as Tiare just said, I now run my own lab looking at proteins that are involved in cancer signalling. So I feel very privileged to have the job I do now. I've had lots of privileges through a very supportive family, fantastic supportive teachers at Tokoroa High School, as you guys have now, lecturers at university, mentors through my study, and now a really supportive family, my wife Gabrielle and our two daughters, who allow me to do this job that I love. That's very challenging, but it's also very rewarding. We're kind of discovering new things every day. But the thing is, as I was sitting where you guys are sitting now, I could never have really predicted that I would end up where I end up, because actually I didn't even know this type of job existed. I didn't know that people could basically make a career out of doing research in a lab. Maybe not something you really think about. Some of you might have a pretty good idea of where you're going next year and what you want to do with your life, and that may be what you do with your life, and that's great. But others might be more like me and go away thinking that you're going to do one thing and end up doing something completely different. Or some of you might be still working out what your next step is going to be, and that's all fine at this time. You can't be 100% certain what the opportunities are that await you and what might capture your attention and be your calling. But I guess I want to emphasise three main messages to you today. That society and the world, it needs you, each of you, to play a part in making it a better place. The second point is, to find that part that you're going to play in the world, you need to put yourself out there and challenge yourself. And thirdly, putting yourself out there is not always going to be easy. It's going to require hard work, sacrifice, and you're going to make yourself uncomfortable. So think about my first point, finding your role in society. On the way here, I was lucky enough to be going to a meeting in Wellington where one of the speakers was Professor Dame Anne Salmon. So she was the New Zealander of the Year in 2013. She grew up in Gisborne, so kind of similar small town to Tokoroa. The beach might be a bit better than Lake Wainanui, but she's a world famous anthropologist now. So she studies Māori and Pacific philosophy and history, and her passion is really developing how we're going to develop strong multicultural societies for future generations. And she's pointing out, one of her major points was to tackle the really complex issues that are coming in this world, global warming and political problems and all sorts of things. If you turn on Donald Trump on the TV, what we need is diversity. So to tackle these multifaceted problems, we need people from all sorts of different backgrounds. It's no good having a room full of old white men tackling these problems. We need people from diverse backgrounds who've been through different challenges themselves, have faced different problems and overcome problems in different ways. And this is becoming more and more clear in business and universities and in government that really diversity is the future. And you guys actually have an advantage here. Starting your education at Tokoroa High School, you've already started on that path. You've done your high school basically in a melting pot of a high school, and you've had experiences that other places just can't replicate. So going to study, I'm pretty sure I'm the only biochemistry graduate from Otago who's been to kōrero competitions in the far north and the far south, supporting people from Tokoroa High School. Diana is just down there. Also, I've had experiences playing, setting records on the soccer field here at Tokoroa, for all the wrong reasons, record losses. But I challenge you to take your unique perspectives that you get from being at Tokoroa High School out into the world and bring them to bear in whatever field you choose to make a positive impact. So, my second point, you need to put yourself out there. So, humans really enjoy the known, they enjoy being comfortable. But what you need to do is fight that inertia and push yourself to take a leap, get out into the world and try things that might make you uncomfortable, but they're going to bring up unique opportunities. By trying new things and giving it your all, that's when new opportunities are going to come to you. It's already obvious from all the achievement that has been talked about already tonight. You guys are doing that here. Your next step is to do that in the world. So a tiny example of that is in one of my most memorable moments in my career so far. I was at a scientific conference in Germany. There's about 700 other students there, and at the time, so the last living Nobel Prize winner from New Zealand, so the late Professor Alan McDiarmid was there. He was getting mobbed by all these other students from all these other countries, and there was three New Zealanders sitting together, and we were all kind of, I guess New Zealanders are quite reserved, and they're not going to go and be in someone's face and say, oh, I'm from New Zealand too. But basically, we pushed ourselves out of our comfort zone to go and talk to him. And when we talked to him, it turned out he was as happy to talk to us as we were to him. He was excited to meet us, and then he invited us to have dinner with him and his wife. And basically, we had an experience that we'd never have otherwise if we didn't make ourselves uncomfortable. We also found out later on that he was a nudist. Not at dinner, but afterwards. And I guess it's poignant, especially because 2 years later he had an accident and passed away. So without taking that opportunity when it arises, things might pass you by. So I guess there's various cliches about kind of seizing the moment, nothing ventured, nothing gained, you've got to be in to win, or you need to buy your lotto ticket before Wednesday night if you want to be in to win. I will be. But I don't think these ideas are quite right, because they make it sound like you just flick a switch, give something a go, it might work or it might not work. But really they don't convey that to give something a real go, it's going to be hard and you're going to have to work at it. It might involve taking a risk, moving away or staying in a situation, or really changing yourself. So really my third point is, just because something feels uncomfortable and something's hard doesn't mean it's the wrong step. It could be exactly the right step, but you just need to get over the hump. So on the stained glass window out the front of the hall, it says "In spe fortitudo," so in quiet confidence lies your strength. And what a lot of people, they see people achieving in all different spheres, and what they don't realise is the quiet confidence part, it doesn't come at the start. It's only through giving something a go, working hard, then you can start to build that quiet confidence, and really that's when you can start to achieve and find your place in the world. Not everything's going to be automatic. You've got to try and go through uncomfortable situations. So I know these things can drag on, it's getting warm down the back, so I want to wrap up soon, but I guess just reflecting on the two halves of my life so far, my main feeling is that as you move on from Tokoroa High School, this is a time of tremendous opportunity, and it's a time of tremendous challenge. It's a time for you to discover what you want out of life and what type of impact you can make on the world. Your responsibility to the people who have supported you so far, but mainly your responsibility to yourself, is to make all your as many impacts in the world as you can, small and large. Make them be positive ones. These impacts might be through your work, might be in advocating for a cause, volunteering, supporting local arts or sports or your church. But if you're doing things in your life that you can pause, look back and think, that's a positive impact on the world. If you're doing those along the way, then you're really living your life right. So thank you very much for listening.